Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, no matter where in the world you might be. This is the Highbury Squad. It's Lockdown Series Volume 2, Episode 54. This is the Arsenal Supporters Trust debrief. Here we go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the show, Super Kevin Campbell.
Oh,
and join.
With Akil.
It is great to be back with Akil. Welcome back, Akil. And if you guys don't know Akil, you should by now. He's a board member, founding board member, I believe, of the Arsenal Supporters Trust.
No, not
founding.
Not founding. No. Joined halfway, maybe just over halfway. So,
okay.
I can't take the credit for that, unfortunately.
I was going to give you all the credit, but what the heck. And also, if you have seen our Evergreen series, you would see Akil and some of our dialogue and conversation about the Arsenal Supporters Trust. He was also a very early pioneer in the podcast world for the Gooner Ramble, and he is one of, if not the classiest folks in the Arsenal community. Thanks so much for joining us at such short notice. But last night sounded so great, we had to get you on.
Yeah. I'm not sure classies that you haven't seen me after a defeat or after a couple of pints, but let's go with it anyway.
I've seen you at the Tollington a little bit, but in fine form. But yeah, you had Henry Winter on, and for those Arsenal fans who want to be part of the Supporters Trust, we'll give you all the details at the end of the show. Welcome to all the squaddies in the house. Thanks for joining us. Axe, tell us a little bit about last night. Was it the first virtual gathering since lockdown? I know you did something with Lee Dixon, but I couldn't remember if that was before or after. Talk us through that a little bit.
No, this is our 16th or so virtual event. So we started them last March or April, maybe, when lockdown 1, as it was known, came. And Henry was, he was our first guest of the virtual. He's come to our kind of events as well, face to face, and he's a sort of good mate of mine as well. Really good knowledge, insight. So we kind of invited him back, and it was a little bit like, a year on sort of thing. And a year ago, we were talking about obviously no football. Now we're talking about a lot of football. So be it without fans at the moment. But yeah, no, it was a really good event.
So for those that are listening for the first time and aren't part of, by the way, so we're not late. I actually advertised it as the right time, but said it for the wrong time. So you can put me on a timeout if you want, you guys. And hit the like button, yes. And remember, hit the like button if you hate Tottenham. That's the rule on the show now, the new rule. And I believe Dem said we could easily get it to 300, no worries. So Axe, Henry Winter, I love Henry too. He's such a good guy, but also has been such a great writer for so long. Why Henry? Why did you invite Henry for this particular meeting?
We get a wide range of guests. So in the last 12 months, we've obviously had Henry now twice, but we've had other great writers as well, and other great kind of pundits and things like that. We've had Julian Laurens, Ralph Honigstein, who are great. We've had John Cross, James Ollie. We've had lots of writers. We obviously had Dicko. Obviously Kev will know well. Had Dicko in January, who's fantastic as well. We even had Gary and Colin Lewin on, so we get a wide range of guests. Henry is one of the greatest sort of sports writers there is out there. Recently, he won the FSA award for Writer of the Year, fully deserved, and that's given by fans. So we always like Henry's insight. He's got a very wide range of knowledge. He's obviously massive on England as well, and with the Euros coming, we wanted to touch on that a little bit as well. So yeah, that was probably right.
So the theme of last night, lots to talk about, of course, with the Arsenal. And from what I could gather from the live tweets and conversation, there was a lot of discussion about Saka, Arteta. Let's start at the very beginning and what your core aim was in terms of what you wanted to get across from the Supporters Trust point of view in terms of the subjects that were discussed last night.
Yeah, so at the Supporters Trust, we focus mainly off the field. We don't tell managers who to play, who not to play and stuff, because that, you know, we're all fans. We've got opinions, don't get me wrong. We've had Adrian Clark on a few times, and, you know, of course we'll have a chat and a debate about it, because that's what football's about. But really, that's not what our knowledge is about. So, you know, we talk about things off the field, and that could be around ticket pricing. It could be recently about return to fans. It could be about things going on. I mean, there's a piece of work being done around gambling by government in sport. So that's obviously something we can get involved in with our kind of contacts and stuff like that. Online abuse we're working on at the moment. So yesterday, the focus was mainly on the return of fans, because obviously we hope to get some fans in for the last game, or maybe the last 2 games, which I'm happy to go into. And then there was a little bit about the European kind of reforms in the sort of the European leagues, you know, the Champions League, the Europa League, and all that kind of stuff. So there were our 2 main topics. But of course, you know, when you've got someone like Henry, you're always going to talk football. So we talked about, you know, obviously Mikel Arteta, who Henry really likes. We talked about kind of the end of the Unai Emery era. We talked about the especially the English players and the young players as well, not just English players. And yeah, just the conversation leads on. I mean, it's ultimately a live podcast, but with a live audience or a virtual audience. So we get questions in, people can come in and out, you know, a little bit like a radio phone in. So yeah, we kind of let people dictate what we want to talk about or what they want to talk about as well.
Akil, do you have any links inside the club who really take notice of what you do? I think that's really important for everybody to know and understand.
I would like to think so. I mean, we meet, you know, sort of quarterly with the CEO, with Vinay Venkatesham. We work with the execs. They don't listen to everything we say, of course they don't, but we try and shape things. I mean, in the return to fans the first time round, you know, we were heavily involved in how the ballot system worked and all that kind of stuff to try and make it as fair as possible for supporters. So, you know, just today I was in a session with the club around kind of the Arsenal Foundation. We've done stuff around that. So yeah, there's kind of lots we do with the club, but I mean, I'm not in any illusion that they're going to listen to us and do everything we say. Absolutely not. But we'll try and represent. But
you can say your piece. That's good.
Of course, absolutely, yeah, exactly.
And having the platform to say the piece, and then also having a key informer like Henry Winter, kind of talking about it too, does help. I'm going to start off with a question that a lot of Arsenal fans were asking last night. And also in our chat too. Clearly the Cronkies weren't present. I don't think they have been present. Have they ever in a supporters trust meeting? I know that we've talked to them at events, Akil, here on the tours and stuff like that. Talk us through that a little bit, and if you guys have extended invitations to the Cronkies to join.
So no. So the Cronkies KSC, we've had very limited dialogue. Of course, they used to be on the AG. They used to have to attend the AGMs, but Stan Kroenke, I just dropped my pin badge there. Stan Kroenke didn't really say much. Many years ago, a couple of the AST board members, some of the founding board members, did get to meet Stan Kroenke, but that was right at the start of his reign when no one really knew much about him. There's been a few journalists that have met him. Jeremy Wilson from the Telegraph was one of the first. But the only thing in the last few years we've had is Josh Kroenke joined a supporters forum at the Emirates. So we got to speak to Josh a little bit, but you know, it wasn't in great detail. And yeah, we haven't spoken to them since. And, you know, we would love to, but it's, you know, in the Cronkies' eyes, they have execs there to run the club, and they want the execs to speak to us and to communicate with us, which, to be fair, they are. But we would love to get some kind of dialogue with KSC, because ultimately they own our football club. It's our football club, as all of us are fans. And I think, you know, that was a big theme. You know, I mean, Henry Winter's huge on fans and fans being involved. Of course, fans used to own shares at Arsenal until they were, you know, basically were bought out, whether they liked it or not. So, you know, I think the Cronkies do need to remember that, you know, Arsenal's a special club and the fans are massive. And they, you know, they need to come and talk to fans as well and communicate and tell us their visions and all sorts. But that sadly doesn't happen at the moment.
Yeah. So let's get stuck into some of the dialogue from last night, because it seemed like Henry had a very interesting take on Arteta versus Emery, perhaps, from a press point of view in terms of the connectivity. Some managers do better with the press and the media than others. Why don't we start with Arteta and what the general consensus was last night from Henry, Axe, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so he's a big fan of Mikel Arteta, and thinks he'll do really well. A couple of the interesting points, I guess, because we all know the stuff that's all out there, but the one thing that was really interesting from Henry was he said Mikel Arteta's not a soft man. He is as hard as nails in terms of, you don't want to cross him. Like he's that tough. And Henry gets his insight, of course, from a lot of the English players, like at Man City. He taught Raheem Sterling. He did something with Kyle Walker a few weeks ago. So they're obviously all saying that he's quite tough. And you only have to look at what's happened to players like Mesut Ozil, Matteo Guendouzi, who Henry had an opinion on, Mustafi, all those players who were we thought we'll never, ever be able to get rid of. And they're not here anymore. Fine, we've paid some of them off, but they're not here. Mikel Arteta, did anyone think sort of Mesut Ozil would leave before his contract ends? I certainly didn't. But Mikel Arteta won that. And Henry was really strong on just telling us how strong Mikel Arteta is. And I think that's really refreshing, because you do need, we've talked about a lack of leaders at Arsenal from top to bottom. And we need that strong leader. And Henry thinks Mikel Arteta is one of them. And, I think that's great because it's important.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting with regards, I've called Arteta a teddy bear with a shotgun. There's part of him where, he puts his arm around players, but he's also really ruthless. And a lot of people in the chat are saying, as Henry says, he's hard. He hasn't maybe been as hard on Oba or Willian. Well, he did dump Oba during the North London derby. Willian hasn't fared much previous to him coming back, and in the Europa League, he wasn't starting for 2 months. So I think our squaddies are being a little harsh on that. But what the difference is that Henry highlighted between Emery and Arteta? Is it personality? Is it a communication, language barrier? What is it, Axe?
Well, he didn't go into it, but we've got history with Henry there. So Henry was at the AST event along with the Romford Pele, Ray Parlour, with us. It was a meeting. It was the first one after Arsene Wenger had left. And we all thought Mikel Arteta was going to be announced as Arsenal manager imminently. It was that meeting. I remember it. I was hosting it. I had Ray to my right, Henry to my left. And one of the board members just started to give me the eyes, like, check your phone. And I was like, well, I can't. I've got 200 people here. One of them then came to the front and said, David Ornstein has just announced something. Have a look. And I had a look, and I announced it to some of our members that Arsenal have appointed a new manager, and it's not Mikel Arteta, it's Unai Emery. And I'll never forget, because then Henry kind of had to take some calls and probably had to get an article out and all that kind of stuff. He's a busy man. But he talked then about Arsenal need someone strong and a little bit more established than maybe Mikel Arteta at that time. And he thought maybe Unai Emery, he's not that top bracket, he's not the Guardiola, the Klopps that in that bracket, but he's maybe the next bracket, and that's the bracket Arsenal was shopping in at the time. So he initially was really pleased that Unai Emery was coming and not Mikel Arteta. But as it went on, I think Henry was really disappointed at the way it kind of played out, that Unai Emery maybe wasn't that strong character. You dropped Mesut Ozil, but then brought him back. There was players like Joe Willock saying, we're not actually sure what we're meant to be doing, and obviously language was a barrier. And I know people sometimes sort of took the mickey a little bit out of the good evenings and stuff like that. And it wasn't about that, but it's about in any walk of life. If I went to another country, I work in PR and social media, and I had a team that weren't English speaking, if I couldn't speak their language and explain to them what I want them to do, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. And ultimately, I think that's what happened. But I think what with Henry's view then on Mikel was, as he's kind of got into the job, all that stuff about being hard as nails, hearing all the stuff he's heard, he's actually maybe thought, oh, maybe I was a bit wrong, actually. Maybe Mikel is that strong person, that character that, you know, the players need. And you know, Kev will be able to tell you, when you're in the dressing room, your manager needs to be tough. With Unai Emery, maybe it wasn't like that. They felt they could get away with things, but with Mikel, I don't think they can.
Well, they did get away with stuff.
With Unai?
With Unai, they did
exactly.
get away with stuff. I think that was the problem. And it's not experience that does that for you. It's the mindset and mentality. And Mikel Arteta has that mindset and mentality to make the changes. And if there's a few bad apples, like you alluded to, he got them out, which was absolutely brilliant. So I think Mikel Arteta, although he's inexperienced, he knows what he wants.
Yeah, he's got a vision. And it was interesting on Matteo Guendouzi, because if you think back to Project Restart, our first game, or the first game of the second game was Man City. Obviously, Aston Villa played someone just before, and we were the second game on that Wednesday night. And Henry, obviously, because the way it is now, the media sort of press areas are larger and things like that, and everyone's kind of sitting all over. And Mikel said that he was quite close to Matteo Guendouzi, and because there's no fans in there, you can hear everything. And Henry said he was absolutely shocked at Matteo Guendouzi's attitude. It just didn't. He just thought, this is not a player who's respecting anything or anyone. And you know, Henry said he doesn't want to bag up young players because young players learn. But he just felt with Guendouzi there is something wrong here. And then obviously 4 days later, Brighton. You know, Guendouzi did that stuff with Mopé, and we haven't seen him again. And Henry's convinced, because Mikel there was already an incident in Dubai 3 months before on their trip, and Mikel had decided one more chance and you're out. And you know, if you think Guendouzi, he was a bit of a fan's favourite for a while. He was that sort of passionate, loud, you know, hates Tottenham, hanging out the car after the North London derby, you know. But Mikel didn't care. He went against all that and thought, no, his attitude's wrong. And, you know, look what happened to him. So, yeah,
and not necessarily guaranteed to come back and be part of the squad either. Could be one of those lone players that we try to sell. I'm going to play a note from PG, who was part of the meeting yesterday. I'm not sure if it's out of sync with what we're saying, but if I don't play it, she might kill me. Here we go.
Hey, Sophie and Casey. Hello, Squaddies. Good evening. So sorry I couldn't be on the pod tonight. I will be back on Friday. Right, just wanted to say a big thank you to our guest, Axe. Hi, Axe. I just want to say last night,
I'm getting a phone call. Sorry. Hold on. There we go.
Webinar on the AST with Henry Winter was absolutely brilliant. My boredom levels are not very high, but I have to say, over an hour and 15 minutes, and I wanted more. I thought Henry was the most amazing guest, so interesting, so articulate in the way he spoke about Arsenal, Arteta, Guendouzi, everything. I tweeted as much as I could so everyone could see, but I'm glad you're guesting tonight. I also want to say thank you to you, because what the Squaddies don't know is that when I became a part of your podcast, I then branched out and did a girls one. And I remember saying to you, can you find me someone? I've got a really good couple of girls, but I need one more to take this forward. And you recommended Sophie to me. So, and as we know, the rest is history, and the hybrid squad was born. So thank you for that. Enjoy the show, everyone. Thanks for coming on, Axe. Bye, Sophie and Casey. See you all soon. And always Arsenal.
All right, that's PG. And I think the general consensus, Axe, was that the AST was very engaging last night. I think there's a difference between getting someone on and talking, but people really listening and hearing what is being said. And clearly, Henry was also talking, as we know, very brightly about Arteta. But Kev, one of the subjects that came up was Saka, and there was a comparison, and I can't remember. Was he comparing Saka to Guendouzi or another younger player in the different style? Can you talk us through that a little bit?
He compared just Saka to just general young players and said Saka's so strong mentally and also just conducts himself really well. And you know, I mean, I think all Arsenal fans, how excited are we about Bukayo Saka, and how proud are we as well? You know, he's come through our ranks. So he was just saying how impressed he's been with Saka. He's obviously joined up with the England squad over the last few kind of internationals. And even there, everything Henry hears is he's conducting himself really well. So he's really excited about kind of Saka, and he thinks Saka will play a big part of the Euros. You know, maybe not starting games, depends on the formation Gareth plays. If he plays a 3-4-3, Saka's potentially in on the left. But because Saka can play everywhere, he just feels he's got so much to offer, and he'll get a chance for England this summer, he thinks.
Mm-hmm. And Kevin, I think as a player, and there have been players who are part of the Arsenal Supporters Trust, and we really want to highlight the importance of the Arsenal Supporters Trust. And I know there's a lot of you guys in chat asking about how to join, and we'll tell you at the end of the show. But Kev, to kind of get someone like Henry Winter, chief football writer for the Times, and as Ak said earlier, you know, an award-winning writer, to kind of be talking, you know, face to face, even if it's virtual, to Arsenal fans and tackling these subjects. And you see it too when you're covering games, whether you're on the sideline. You know, I know it too, covering LA Galaxy here when you're in the dressing room and you're standing face to face with Beckham. You see things, you notice things. And I think that's what makes it so important that someone of Henry's level, an elite writer for years and years, is able to come together with the trust and have this conversation. Yeah,
I think it's his stature. His stature, for one. You mentioned the level, but his stature in the business and in the media is the top guy, really, isn't he? He's up there. And to have him come on and share what's in his mind, his opinions, and actually what's going on from his point of view and through his eyes. Because it's easy to just try and describe something away. But we're talking about our football club. And it's the AST, and he's coming on and he's sharing what's going on through his eyes. It's really important. And I think fans gravitate to that.
We lost Kev.
Have you?
No, he's there.
Oh, he's there?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. Yeah, I think fans gravitate to that because it's an insight that the fans don't really get. You know, through the eyes of a number one writer. So yeah, I think he's special.
And Sonny, I don't agree with what you're saying at all. I think fans do care about what people like. Of course, what you care about is up to you, but knowledge is power, and being part of the game is very important, and seeing things through people's eyes. That's the beauty about football acts. So I wanted you to address.
I think I get what Sonny means in terms of, you know, Henry's a mate of mine, so I would say this to him, but do I care how he thought, you know, Aubameyang played last Saturday or not? Or does he think Saka should play? Not massively bothered about that. Henry can have an opinion and I can have mine, you can have yours. It's fine. That's the whole point. But what I do care about is when he's telling me that Raheem Sterling and Kyle Walker are telling him that, you know, Mikel helped them, he improved them, he was hard as nails. That's the stuff I want to know, because I don't know that. I'm not at the Colney. So, and the fact that he's telling me Guendouzi's attitude stunk, I want to know that, because I want to know which of my players are going to make it. So it's not about his opinions, it's about what he knows. And also, you know, we had obviously in mid-season, for certainly the UK kind of audience, we had something called pay-per-view that was coming in. And that was when fans would have had to pay sort of £15 to watch games that weren't on TV. It's ridiculous. Henry Winter was one of the journos that's really, really supported fans. You know, we with the FSA, which is the Football Supporters Association. So every trust at every club joined forces. So we're working with all the Premier League supporter clubs. And, you know, we all collectively raised sort of £500,000. But Henry was one of those who was actually writing articles saying fans should not have to pay £15 in a pandemic and all that kind of stuff. Henry's the one who's saying, you know, kickoff times need to be reasonable for fans. Henry's the one saying that, yeah, overseas fans are important. They should be treated well as well. And so it's not so much about what he thinks about players or anything like that, but it's about his insight and his opinions on everything else, because he's actually really supporting football fans like me, like you, like even Kev, you know, who's an ex-pro, but he's a fan at the end of the day as well. So I think that's the important thing. You know, these writers have a platform and they're using it well.
Yeah. And Sonny, we know you're not disrespecting the AST, and you're completely, I hear you. He's saying we're very frustrated as Arsenal fans, have been sold a dream, and we'd like to know the blueprint in the summer. So I guess this comes back to Axe having, and Kev, you know, we talk about the apathy in the ownership. You get the odd sound bites here and there. I mean, it would be awesome for the Supporters Trust to get the Cronkies or someone involved. Talk us through, I know we spoke about it at the top of the show, but what's the possibility of that actually happening in the future? I don't think people want to hear from Vinay anymore. I think they do, but they don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's hard to say, you know, culture in American sports, as you know, Sophie, is maybe different. I don't think it will happen. I think what the Cronkies are hoping is, you know, the club starts to improve. You know, we're 9th in the league, and that's an absolute disgrace for a club as big as Arsenal Football Club. What the Cronkies are hoping is we do start to improve. We do compete for the biggest trophies, because then we won't care about them. We won't need to hear from them because we're doing well. So that's what they're hoping for. But the longer it goes on where we don't, it's going to be, they're going to get even more noise. I think it's a big rest of the season. The Europa League is absolutely huge, because if you get into the Champions League, suddenly that's 40-50 million instantly that you've got rid of high earners off the wage bill. Summer, if you recruit well, you do your stuff well, it could actually be quite a good few months, and then the pressure's off the Cronkies. You don't get into the Europa League, you finish outside of the European places, you're in trouble financially as well, and that's when then the pressure will be on the Cronkies. You know, at the end of the day, they own the club. You know, if the club aren't in the European competitions, aren't getting that revenue, we're in a pandemic year where Arsenal have, you know, about 25% of their revenue has been cut. That is about 100 million, over 100 million with no fans in. That money needs to be, you know, replaced, I guess, in a way, and that's when the pressure will be on the Cronkies. But you know, if you told me, are they going to come and talk to us or anyone? I wouldn't.
I think they're afraid, Kev. I think it's like a defender facing you back in the day. I think they're a bit pitch scared.
But you know, Sophie, I just think that it will be detrimental for them to engage, because that opens them up to everything, and they're not going to do that. These are serious owners and serious businessmen. They're not going to do that. They always put someone in front to deal with, and Vinay is the guy who's the one who's going to connect with the Arsenal Supporters Trust. Believe you me, they're not coming out from behind the screen, because it'll be detrimental to them.
I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar business, KSE. I mean, they own the Colorado Rapids, the Denver Nuggets. They own the Arsenal. I mean, they own multiple businesses. And Axe said this on our show before too, when the Rams, of course, they built the spaceship here in LA. And when people were arguing about Wenger, when someone manages your business for you, and people are like, well, why are they rewarding Wenger? Well, when you're managing a business and you're profitable, you get paid a lot of money to do that, right? And Axe has talked about that before. Axe, did any of the questions come up last night? This loan that we took out during COVID, is it the 120 million that has to be paid back by the summer? Did that come up? Did that come up or no?
It didn't come up, no.
Okay.
But we know it has to be paid by May. There could be a small extension on there. But that was basically used to, we're told it was never used to pay off players or anything like that. It was just for some kind of expenses and stuff like that. Whether that's affordable at the moment, we don't know. A lot depends on kind of, are we going to have full stadiums in August? If we are, then life's a little bit different. If we get into Europe, life's still a little bit different. So there was no talk on that last night, but I think that it will come as we know where we're going to finish and things like that.
Okay. What is it?
I think
what else
that might
is it?
tie in. I think that might tie in, Sophie, with the Premier League money.
to the Premier League money. Yeah.
When the Premier League money comes in, then they
it's going to be interesting. Yeah. And then I think, Ax, while we have you here, we've got 5 more minutes with Akhil Vyas here. He's a board member of the Arsenal Supporters Trust, real key informer in the community. These guys donate their time. They do not earn any money. They are ingrained in the community, and it's such a wonderful thing. And Ax, before he goes, will tell you how you can be part of it. A couple things before you go. Is there anything else that Henry discussed that you think our squaddies would love to know about that I haven't touched on? And then I wanted to talk to you about, you're very ingrained in the finances of the club. So just so I don't forget, we'll get to that after. But tell us what I may have or may not have asked that you think people need to know about.
One of Henry's biggest sort of messages, and it was funny because I listened back to it sort of first thing this morning, because I'm going to crop that bit and post that because it was so powerful. But he talked about kind of how this should be a bit of a reset, because what he said is in the last year where he's been going to stadiums, he's still, even though there's no fans there, he's on his 140th game of the season on Thursday night when he goes to watch England at Wembley, or work reports on England at Wembley, because he's just a football nut. You know, we actually tried to get this kind of a week before on a Friday. We looked at the fixtures. There was no Premier League games. We thought this should work. And then he told me, no, he's going to watch Derby. You know, he's going to write something on Wayne Rooney. So Henry's just ingrained in football. But what he was saying is it is so soulless without fans there. He talked about Arsenal, and he said, you know, things have changed. You know, the Marble Halls at Highbury and all that to the Emirates, it's totally different now. But he says there is still an element of class when you go to Arsenal. Even now, he still feels it. He goes from the stewards to just the people that work there, you know, you feel it. And he felt that just without fans, it's just not the same. You know, the North London derby without fans, it just wasn't. So he really urged supporter groups like ourselves, the FSA, to really get together and show football that, look, you've had a year of it without us, and look, it hasn't been great. He thinks that the fan noises that are put on from Sky and BT and Amazon are a disgrace. He says they're trying to sell a product that isn't there. You know, you can't just you can't just, you know, there's no fans there, so we'll just put some fake noise. It's not FIFA. That was one of his biggest things, that it's just football needs a reset, and that could be ticket pricing, that could be kickoff times, that could be everything. And it's certainly something we're working with the FSA on that, you know, to get, you know, make sure that people can afford to go to watch football, make sure overseas fans can get all the games and it's affordable, make sure kickoff times, people aren't booking trains and then having games change at the last minute and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, that was probably one of his biggest takeaways. And again, it sums the man up that he's, you know, he doesn't have to care about all that, but he does. Because he believes football without fans is nothing. He keeps telling me it's your game, it's your football club. Don't forget that. And I guess he's right.
That's really well put, because Kev, I haven't been to the games in the UK, but I covered the games here, and even MLS is nowhere near, of course, like the Premier League. But it was eerie and soulless and scary at the beginning. And then you kind of get used to it, but then you don't want to get used to it because it just never feels normal. You've been covering the games. You've been on the sidelines. What Henry's saying is true. And maybe for once, are they going to respect the fans a little bit more after this experience?
I'll tell you one thing that will happen. The players respect the fans a lot more, because it's so difficult. I know it's the job and you go out there and you play no matter what. But with people there, with a fan base there at home or away or whatever, it makes a difference to how you approach it. It makes a difference. And it may sound crazy, but, you know, 1% difference is a lot when you consider each player. 1% of each player is 11%. That's massive at the top level. So, look, I've been in the stadiums. I'd never liked it. I always like fans being there. And do you know what? Whether it's good or bad, even if it's a bad reaction, I'd rather a bad reaction as a player than no fans be there.
I mean, it's funny you said that, because Henry talked about, he did a piece with Jack Grealish at Villa, And Jack talked about, of course, he misses the whole end at Villa, because that's his support. But he said he also misses away fans because the stick they give him it spurs him on. He wants to, it motivates him. So it's I don't know, Kev. I mean, I know you've covered games for Amazon, and I think you did an Arsenal away game. Maybe was it to Brighton? Maybe
Brighton,
that game, but even that, it's kind of the away team feels quite comfortable in an away ground because there's no fans there, and it's just the players need that. They need that little bit of sort of edge. Even if it's not support, the edge. That's a good word. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get Axe out on this one. He's a super smart guy, knows his finances. A lot of our fans are asking about the women's deal and how that affects, Arsenal, the men's team. The women's deal for me was phenomenal, obviously. I was covering the game on the sidelines when no one wanted to buy an article, even write a piece. I remember covering the US women's national team, who are now global superstars, 2011 on a soggy afternoon in California before the Olympics in 2012. And I'm one of 4 journalists there. There have been some great supporters. I want to, people like Tim Stillman and Molly Hudson, really phenomenal journalists who have been there from the beginning and championed the sport. But at the same time, there's some questions saying, how does that affect Arsenal? And then also, what do you think about the summer money? Just give us a nutshell, a couple of minutes. I know you have to go in terms of that.
That's fine. It's great to see that deal. The pandemic came at such a bad time for women's football because people were going to women's, they were getting record attendances. I mean, the games at Wembley in the last year or two before the pandemic, they were huge. And you think about the North London derby at Spurs, it was a great atmosphere. So it came at the wrong time. There was lots of kind of people fearing kind of what will happen there. But the fact that, it's going to be shown on Sky Sports, the BBC, and any games that aren't on those channels will be available online. So now you get to watch every single women's game, which I think is absolutely fantastic. It seems like there's a bit more awareness as well. They're not playing at the same time as the men, so you can genuinely support both, which is great. Sometimes there was a clash, which was difficult. So obviously the money is a lot less than the men. I mean, that's at the moment it's supply and demand. The demand on the men's game is huge, where Sky BT will fight against each other to try and get more games because their audience numbers for men's football is huge. With women's football, obviously, yet it's not as big, but it's growing. And this deal just shows that. So I think it's great. At Arsenal, the kind of, Vinay is not just the CEO of the men's, he is the CEO of the women's as well. They do have another structure. So where Edu looks after the men, there is someone else kind of who looks after the women's game as well. So, I mean, Arsenal, put a lot of effort into the women's game. And these kind of deals will only help them invest even more, not just in players, but facilities and things like that as well, which already they're quite strong at. So I think it's a great thing. And, Tim Stillman's a good mate of mine. I love his passion. I learn a lot from him when he's talking about the women's game, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, me too. So summer-wise, Kevin and I have done shows on transfers, money. We even did I hired Kev as the director of football. We got a lot of loan deals out. How much can we get? Axe, in a nutshell, what are you thinking this summer? What do we really have to spend?
It all depends. It all depends on where we finish. Last season at the Trust, when we looked at the numbers, we were quite, because obviously now the club is private. We don't get the accounts until a lot later. We used to get them at Company's House early, so we would know. Now we're always playing catch up sort of thing. For example, in recent times, we've learned that actually the Alex Iwobi sale really did help Arsenal because that summer, but we're only finding that out now. But we were a little bit surprised that Arsenal did get Thomas Partey, if we're completely honest, paying that full kind of 50 million fee. There was stories about kind of the Cronkies have injected cash and stuff like that. I don't think that's quite the case. They've potentially promised the money if something went wrong, but they haven't put cash in. So I think Arsenal took a big gamble with Thomas Partey. I think they pretty much did use sort of everything they've got. This summer depends on where they end up. If you can somehow fluke that Europa League and get the Champions League, it's just it's another level. So to put it into context, Liverpool and Spurs, the year they got to the final, Liverpool got just over about 100 million from the Champions League run. Spurs got about 80. The same year we got to the Europa League final with Chelsea, we got about half of what Spurs got. We got about 40, and that was getting to the final. So put that into context. That is money we need. Arsenal get a revenue of about 400, just over 400 million a season. They've lost about 100 million of it, just playing simple, it's a bit more than that, but just playing it's about 140. But, you know, they've lost 25%, 30% of that because there's been no fans in the ground. The TV companies have got a slight rebate because the product they signed up for, fans, weren't there. So there's a bit of a rebate, but it's being paid. They're getting it back a little bit later. So you've lost all that. So if you then lose European football as well, another 30 or so million, that's going to hit us hard. So what if we're not in any sort of European competition? And I know people laugh because obviously we're going to get the Europa Conference League next season. So you've got the Champions League, you've got the Europa League, and then you've got the Conference League, which you can imagine what that's going to be like if some of the games in the Europa League at 5:55, you know, we sort of laugh because that's not where we want to be. The conference will probably be worse than that. But the financial benefits, the income of that Conference League, we need it. We need some sort of European football. So if we don't get any European football, I'm not expecting much at all. We will need to raise money. Don't know who we're going to raise money from. There's strong rumours Hector Bellerin's probably going to go. James Oddie in the ESPN wrote quite a strong piece that Hector was potentially asked to kind of go last summer. He was told stay one more year. So we're expecting maybe a little bit of value there. But apart from that, who are you going to get money off? You know, Lacazette, a little bit maybe. I don't know. So there's a struggle there. If we don't get European football, I'm not expecting much. If we get the Europa League, the conference, we might be okay. If we get the Champions League, it will just be... We'll celebrate the Champions League football a lot more than we did when we celebrated it. You know, fourth is not a trophy yet. On the final day at Newcastle, we were all up in arms because we had done it. It happened again and all that kind of stuff. But at the moment, the Champions League is so big. And if we do that, then I can see us going for, you know, Martin Odegaard to stay, who's looking really good now, and hopefully investing a little bit more. But it all depends on where we finish.
Yeah, getting a terrible report from everyone in chat and the squaddies that Odegaard injured and has gone off the pitch in the game, and my hairs have gone up, as you can see. And let's all hope that this is not serious, you guys. But Axe, brilliant insights.
What I've heard about him as well is he's settled in so well at Arsenal. What do you know about
that, Axe, from behind the scenes?
Well, Henry was very strong on him. He thought he's been fantastic, the right character. He's a captain of his country at 22. You know, often the best player sometimes is, but I think he's got leadership qualities. I've heard from a few members of the Arsenal community and the stuff there that he's already done some stuff with children and schools and stuff like that because he just gets it. He gets that kids, you know, look up to footballers, and he gets it at 22 that maybe not him personally because he's probably quite modest, but he gets that footballers are role models. So, you know, everything he's doing has been really good. I think he's open to staying from what Henry said and what a few other journos have said. So, but again, you know, it would probably cost us 30, 40 million to get him. And without European football, I just struggle to see where that will come from. Maybe the owners will surprise us. I wouldn't put much money on that. Don't go to your local betting shop and bet on it. But you never know. There's an opportunity. I always say this, that, you know, as bad as maybe KSC have been, there is always an opportunity to turn it around, and they've got that opportunity. You know, there are rules at the moment where owners can, I think, sort of invest a little bit to cover costs of COVID and things like that. There are ways around it. They've always got an opportunity. This is my way of putting a bit of pressure on them, to be honest.
Yeah, we were talking with Kev the other night saying how, you know, Real Madrid also desperate for funds. Who isn't in this time? Yeah. We can't see them pulling another Ceballos, giving us a second loan. They're going to want the money. And also Zidane really respects him and likes him. Clearly, you know, he's not only a good player, but he's got the good character as well. And that's always great to hear. Let's hope I don't know if someone's saying he's back on the pitch. I don't think he is, but let's hope that he's okay.
I think the only thing that could maybe save us is because obviously when you take a player on loan, you get them off your wage bill. So
right,
it seems like Gareth Bale's going to go back there and he's not going to go anywhere else, which means Madrid have suddenly got his wages in full. They're only paying half at the moment. They're going to have to pay it in full. Danny Ceballos, I can't see Arsenal trying to make that permanent.
No, I wouldn't.
So suddenly, maybe even a second loan might be a little bit more appealing for Madrid. But I think you're right. They will want to get money off him for sure.
Okay, and the word is that Martin is off, has been subbed at halftime. So let's hope that he's going to be okay.
More
And Axe, brilliant, precautionary, brilliant stuff from you. We're going to get I know you'll come on whenever we ask, but I think this kind of stuff is great. Our listeners don't get to hear it, and there's a lot of them that want to know how to become a member. So can you let everyone know how they can do that?
Yep, so arsenaltrust.org has all the information. We often get asked about kind of, I'm an overseas fan, can I get involved? Absolutely. In a way, the pandemic's helped that. It's brought us closer together because we are doing a lot of virtual events. Even after, when we are allowed to, meet in public and have gatherings, we'll still be doing virtual events. Even if we are doing kind of face-to-face events, we'll still have a virtual element. So absolutely, fans can all get involved. There is a small fee which just covers some costs, but I'm hoping people won't be disappointed. They'll hopefully learn stuff that, potentially maybe they didn't know. They'll feel part of a community like they are now watching this, I can see how busy the chat is and stuff like that. So, arsenaltrust.org is the website. We would love to have, as many of you join.
Awesome. And let everyone know where they can follow you on Twitter as well, because you have your business account and you also have your Arsenal account.
Yeah, so if you obviously want to follow me for the Arsenal, then it's 10 Akil. So that's 10 AKHIL.
Brilliant.
Engage.
Brilliant. Excellent. Kev, he's always top shelf.
Yeah, and listen, I've never had the privilege of being on when you've been on, Akil, and it's fantastic listening to you, mate. And thanks for all your help. And hopefully we get to see you again very soon.
Absolutely. Just one final plug, just because I'm going to be using every platform. There is a lot of work going on online abuse at the moment, and I'm leading on that from a kind of supporters point of view. And soon we'll be coming out with some messages to fans about, when you see online abuse, report it, because we are really trying to put pressure on social media companies to act faster. If you were to spend 20 quid to do an advert, it's so funny how quickly the social media companies accept it and put your advert out. So they can stop abuse as well. They can get rid of accounts and all that kind of stuff. So we are saying to fans, when you do see, call it out in terms of report it. You don't need to say anything to the person, but report it, because together we can hopefully stop online abuse. And that includes racial abuse. That includes all sorts of abuse, because it's wrong and we don't want that in our game.
Brilliant. Really good stuff. This is what I love about Axe. He not only cares about the Arsenal, but he does a lot of good things outside of it too. So you'll be back on the show. We'll talk more football with you before the season ends, Axe. And thanks so much for sharing Henry's insights and the AST overall. We appreciate you, and we'll chat soon. Oh,
thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Akil.
guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, Akil. Take care, mate.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Akil is a real Kev, he's such a good human being, but also it takes a lot for these people that are part of the supporters trust to donate their time. It's a little bit like, a lot of us who do podcasting, we don't get paid for it. We donate our time. We love what we do. We want to share. We want to bring people together, community, and what he does outside of all that too is just really good stuff. Top shelf.
Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant guy. Brilliant insight.
So, Kev, there's over 300 people in chat, and I have, 10 minutes left. I wanted to talk to you about this because through that conversation with Akil, I was getting the notes from the squaddies and completely alarmed that Martin Odegaard is injured. This is not good.
Yeah, it's not good. I think the key to everything, obviously, with an injury is to find out the extent of it. And, even if he feels a little muscle, you can't take the risk, Sophie. You can't take the risk. So we're not too sure of the extent of it yet. But we're going to find out, aren't we? We're going to find out just how bad it is. Fingers crossed, touch wood, all that kind of thing. It's not too bad, and he just felt a little something and done the right thing and came off. So, we just have to watch this space.
Yeah, let's really, really hope that he's okay, you guys. So I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. We love doing shows like that, a little bit different. The Highbury Squad brings you different content and stuff. By the way, Kev, Demsek in chat was asking who the squaddies would sell, me, you, or PG. And Newman said, and I quote, he would rather join the Tottenham squad than have the Highbury squad sell any of us. He literally stood in front of the samurai sword and took one for the team.
I love that Newman, but we wouldn't have you going across there, mate.
No,
you don't worry about that. We wouldn't have you going across there. Buddy.
No, we would stand in front of that sword too. Kev, we have an announcement to make. How about that?
That's right.
Yeah,
you do.
I do have an announcement to make. So as you know, the Highbury Squad loves to bring you different content, and we always want to up the game and keep it fresh, exciting. So as of next week, we're launching a new segment called Wednesday Women, and we will be highlighting women in the beautiful game in sports. Really excited for that. So look forward to our first guest, Lindsay Hooper, who is going to be joining us next Wednesday. Go take a look at Twitter and Lindsay Hoop. She does a lot of stuff for the Premier League. She's got a brilliant podcast out that she does with other great women and is just a great voice in the game as well. So we're excited about that. And then as of Monday, the Highbury Squad is very proud to announce, and we'll be putting it out on Twitter a little bit later, we're going to start a daily breakfast show called Good Morning Gunners. And we'll be coming to you breakfast time in the US for me. So it'll be later on in the day for you. And it'll be like a radio show where guests pop in, pop out. We'll have branded segments. We'll have some key informers on, guests, some fun stuff. It's going to be just brilliant. So that will start on Monday. Good morning, Gunners, coming to you from the Highbury Squad. And as always, sponsored by our good friends at footballprizes.co.uk. Kev, what do you think about that?
I'm looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it. I'll be on whatever I can. And I think the more good quality content that people can get about the Arsenal, the better. Because this Highbury Squad has been growing, and I just think the hostess with the mostest needs to definitely have more things going. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I'm really excited for it too, because, for us, we're so grateful. The channel has grown and it's been wonderful. The lockdown series has been amazing. You guys have been amazing. None of this would be possible without you. And so we're really excited for the new segments and the breakfast show. It's going to be a lot of fun, you guys. You're going to enjoy it. It's going to be, just a really good engagement and a lot of fun people. And I'll announce in a couple of days who some of our regulars will be and stuff like that too. So look out for that. Good morning, Gunners, coming to you, launching Monday on our YouTube channel. Can't wait for that.
Boom!
Deserves one of those, Kev. Right. What else do you have, Kev, that you want to let the squad know before you go? Anything?
No, not really. Listen, thanks for joining us. One thing I will say is don't worry too much about Martin Odegaard. Let's find out what the issue is. And do you know what? Take a little chill out away from football for a day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll definitely see them tomorrow. And yes, just to answer some of the questions, and we'll talk about it more, guys, on tomorrow's show as well. But there will be like pre-recorded interviews and a lot of fun, different stuff. So we look forward to it. I'm really excited about that. And I appreciate your support and thank you very much. Right. Thursday, we're back tomorrow, Super Kev.
Yep, we are.
Can't remember what we're doing tomorrow. Do you remember what we're doing tomorrow?
8 o'clock tomorrow, isn't it?
8 o'clock tomorrow, yes. And then on Friday, we have a very special show that you're not going to want to miss. Another segment called A Trip Down Memory Lane.
Is it another new one? Is it another new one, Sophie?
I mean, I was going to announce that one tomorrow, but what the heck?
There
Seeing
you
as we're on a
go.
roll.
It's a new one. It's a new one.
It's a new segment with Super Kevin Campbell, and we have got David Hillier joining us on Friday's show. A Trip Down Memory Lane focuses on one game and the experience from the player and the fan perspective. And you guys are not going to want to miss it. Tell them what game we're covering, Kev.
We are covering, I think it's the FA. Is it the FA Cup final?
It is the FA Cup
final.
The Georgie Graham.
Yeah, under George Graham. And it's, but obviously that went to 2 games. So we got loads to discuss. Loads.
Yes, we do. And everyone's talking about what T-shirts they want. Some want it's the players, Brook the Neck. They're coming too. That and one announcement at a time, you guys.
Yeah,
give us some times. So yeah, brilliant. Brook the Neck, brilliant show lined up for Friday with David and with Kev. You're not going to want to miss that. And if you have memories of that game, or if you were at that game, send us pictures, thehighburysquad@gmail.com. Share them with us. I'll put them up on the screen. But this is as much your show as it is our show too. So we can't wait for that as well. So Super Kev, we'll be back tomorrow night. And until then, tell the troops.
Listen, squaddies, ladies, gentlemen, nutters, gooners, we love you and we love Arsenal. Always the Gunners.